What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, here for another Ginger Runner Live. This is episode number 20. I can't believe we are almost at 21. We're almost legal to drink. Too bad I have already started. Today, I don't really know how else to put this. We are joined by a legendary man in the ultra running community. He is the editor-in-chief, the creator of iRunFar, joining us from the road, literally in his car, trying to tether as many internet signals as humanly possible. It is the one and only Mr. Bryon Powell. Thanks for joining us, dude.
My pleasure. Glad I could make it.
Me too.
Glad I could find a signal.
I was going to say, like, if for some reason during the course of the show we lose Bryon because the signal dies or his car battery dies or something, we'll get him back in immediately. So yeah, stick around, guys. This is Ginger Runner Live episode number 20. We've got a lot to talk about today. Get ready for the show. Here we go. Ginger Runner. I have been excited for this moment since I started Ginger Runner Live, since I started running, really. Being able to talk and converse with Bryon Powell for a period longer than 30 seconds after a race or online just through Twitter and stuff like that. This guy is a legend. He basically puts out all the information about ultra running that you could ever possibly want or imagine. He interviews all the biggest names in ultra marathons from across the globe. He travels around the globe to these destination races. He knows everybody. Everybody knows him. This is kind of an honor to have him on the show. So thank you, Bryon, and thank you for taking time out of your commute as you head out to Squaw, right? You're on your way to Western?
Yeah, just left Moab this morning and on the way out to Squad. See how far I can get tonight.
How far are you now? Where are you, in case we have people watching that want to go find you?
I'm in the booming metropolis of Austin, Nevada, somewhere in the middle of nowhere on the loneliest highway in the U.S. Route 50.
I mean, literally, right now we are proving that we can live stream from anywhere on the globe because, I mean, I'm imagining your setup. You're literally in nowhere. And your setup is you're leeching Wi-Fi off of a cell phone off of like a Wi-Fi device, right?
I have a cell phone booster with a cell phone tethered to my laptop right now. And I had to drive around to get the signal because it's right up there.
Like
I've experienced doing this.
I'm sitting on a hill. He goes, I'm sitting on a hill trying to leech Wi-Fi off of like a cell tower. This is awesome, and this is why I love technology, and this is why I love this, being able to do this live. So if you guys are tuning in, watching live, if you would like to ask any questions of Bryon, you can do it in the chat room. So all you have to do is just write a question in there. The chat room tends to move fairly quickly sometimes, so if I miss a question, just either keep asking it or I will get to it. The other option is by going onto Twitter and using the hashtag GingerRunnerLive. I tend to see those a little bit more frequently because it's easier and they actually rotate through on a regular basis. So if you want to do that as well, you can do that. Today, we're going to be talking not only about Bryon, iRunFar, and kind of the business that he set up. He's just kind of become this legend in the ultra running community because he is such a name now. But also about Western, because Western State's the 100-mile race, one of the most epic 100-mile races. Much more exciting, yeah. Coming up this weekend. It's coming up this weekend. So you're on your way there. I guess I'll just start this off with probably the easiest question, Bryon. Who's going to win? Who do you have as the winner?
Question. Come on, ask me the weather. Ask me, I don't know, at the winning time. Who's going to win? If I had to pick the most likely people to win in each race, I would have to go with Rob Carr and man, the women's field is just wide open. So
I know.
So I guess I'd have to go with Pam Smith because she just nailed it last year. So.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's it. Thanks, Bryon. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys. I'm just kidding. I can't believe you actually answered that question. I was half expecting you to go, I'm not answering that. There's just too many options.
But that is Monday evening. As the weather forecast gets more tuned in, literally, we have the prediction contest on iRunFar. I will not pick until 30 minutes before the end of the contest because
you never
there's so
know.
many variables. Who's in, who's out. Like people come in banged up, and you find out this coming week. So
I actually remember that. Yeah, I remember that from last year when I submitted my form. I think it was like 5 days before the actual race, and then multiple people got sick. There was like a couple DNSs So people that just didn't even toe the start line, and my whole list was fucked at that point. My whole list was just out the window.
You can
And I
always
think
resubmit. Just know that.
oh yeah.
So
Oh, I didn't know that. So actually, no. Explain the contest for those who are watching because you have
okay.
some incredible prizes.
I think this is like the 6th straight year we've had a Western States prediction contest. You pick the top 8 men, top 8 women, 5 score, top masters, and women and men are tie break. We got great prizes from Innovate and Julbo as well. Innovate's given us the Race Ultra 290, their new Ultra shoe, their Race Ultra vest, some other clothing as well. It's pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, year after year, you manage to bring in not only incredible prizes, but just a really cool contest. And the system that you have laid out, I just kind of went through the rules and stuff like that. As every year, it's like a fair chance for everybody. And like you said, you can resubmit if for some reason you need to resubmit, and it's awesome. So thanks for doing that, man.
We have this year we have 3 really good prize packs for if you give an honest effort for entering. I mean, you just can't pick number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
If you give an honest effort, we're giving entrance from just a random drawing. So even if you're not the most astute Ultra fan, get your name in there and win some great prizes.
Already in the chat room, people are commending you on joining this, even from your car. Russell Anderson is like, "Whoa, in his car? Cheers, Bryon." And
this is a Prius office complex. Come on.
It's a beautiful office. It really is. I love what you've done with the place.
What a view. Yes.
Kelly Mahoney also says, guess Bryon won't be drinking during this interview in his car and all. But, in fact, he does have something.
A little coffee.
A little coffee.
A Speedgo mug.
Why not? Is that actual Meltzer blend?
No, this is one of the... I've got a roast from... Well, I've been there this morning. It's nice and lukewarm.
Yeah, you're actually a coffee expert. I feel like... What is it, the AeroPress? Do you use the AeroPress?
I love the AeroPress. It is an excellent coffee maker. I have a little hand grinder, so I just grind a cup at a time. Yeah,
I love it.
It's just a nice process. Like I have a nice mechanical or electric grinder and coffee machine, and I even have a French press. Like it's just 1 cup at a time.
So before we start getting into the details of Western, you travel the globe. You were just in the Zagama, or you were out there on the islands. The most recent one. What is that like? What is it like to travel the globe and to document these races, to be there for the races? I mean, is it a different experience overseas than it is here local? Do you get recognized?
For sure. I might get recognized in some of the countries more than I do here. It really depends.
Wow.
Some of the countries, I was taking a bus to interview people after Transvolcania, and there's just random police around, and they check IDs and stuff. And I was in La Palma, and they just checked my ID, just casual. I wasn't doing anything. And they oh, you're on YouTube. You're the guy on YouTube. I'm like, how do you guys know this? In some of these places, the people are just insane. Not the runners, but just the people of the place are such fans of the sport. I think you get some of that in places like Auburn, California. There's just in Silverton, the people know Hard Rock. I mean, but they're much bigger locales in other countries where they know the stars, not just the runners, but I'll be walking around Chamonix and people from Iceland or Norway or Greece are going to come up and say thanks for what you do, and that's totally different than some places in the U.S. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, the first time I actually met you, you probably don't remember it. It was very brief. It was 3 years ago. Actually, it was the real shitty rainy North Face. I guess that was two. Yeah, I guess that was 2 North Faces ago. It was my very first 50K, and I had been following you at that point for probably a good 8 months, reading all the articles, basically learning everything I could possibly learn on ultra running from your website, which it's a tool for anyone who's watching who hasn't run an ultra, who wants to. That was what I used to train, was all the articles on iRunFar. So when I saw that you were out there in just terrible conditions, pouring down rain, shitty mud, freezing cold, it was an awful day, and Bryon out there all alone, documenting the entire race, documenting all the leaders. When I finished the race and I saw him standing there, of course I had to run up to him and introduce myself, and we're both gingers, look at us, I run and you run far, and trying to crack a joke, and Bryon, the nicest guy, just all right, cool, well, it's great to meet you. I actually have to catch the 50-mile finishers, I gotta go work. So, dude, thank you. Let me say it on behalf of myself, as well as everyone that I know, as well as everyone watching. Thank you for doing what you do, because you're kind
Oh,
of the only one doing it, and you kick
okay.
ass at it. So, what is wh- which do you prefer? Do you prefer documenting races overseas? Like, do you like the traveling aspect of it, or do you enjoy the home turf, where everyone speaks English, or a lot of the runners, like as personal friends? Like, which do you prefer?
I guess both are as comfortable. If I have to travel and work, it's more or less the same. Almost every place I've traveled, it's easy enough to get around in English. The only English and I can manage in Spanish and
That's right. You actually speak a little bit of
under
Spanish.
a little bit, but anywhere in a Spanish-speaking country, French, whatever, that's easy. Japan, thank goodness for Koichi Iwasa helping us out
Oh,
over there, because I mean, you see street signs and they're in kanji, and you just don't know which way you're going. So, yeah, that was a big help.
I can
But
imagine.
yeah, in terms of covering races overseas versus U.S., I enjoy both, and both are equally as taxing. I mean, U.S. isn't really any easier. It's just a long week wherever I am.
Yeah. Has there been a race that has stood out for you as far as, like you just said, taxing has really taken it out of you, or has you've had to put far more time into it than expected? Or I mean, you're pulling all-nighters, but
Well,
anything in
basically,
addition
I'm
to that?
working all the time when I'm at a race. Probably the first time to Transvolcania, just the hotel we were at. There was a skyrunning conference between Transvolcania and Zagama that year. They were a week apart, so there were all these athletes there, all this press there. There was an awful internet connection to begin with, and like one Wi-Fi signal for all of
Oh,
us. And
jeez.
so just like trying to upload video interviews was impossible. Like it was the same amount of work in terms of writing articles and covering the race and interviewing people, but literally just to sit in a room all night waiting for the upload.
Yeah,
That was
that's the
that gets
worst.
exhausting.
I can
Yeah, and it wasn't
imagine.
like in my hotel room where I could just go to sleep and like
So when you,
those are the hardest days.
I can absolutely imagine when you find yourself in these press junkets where there's lots of people trying to get an interview with Killian or any of these major world-class athletes. Do you find that people, especially the athletes, go, Bryon, I want to interview Bryon first? Or I mean, because you kind of have this personal relationship with a lot of them. You're not ABC News. You're Bryon Powell. So do you find that they kind of gravitate towards you at all?
I think I've never had a situation where it didn't work out to interview. I mean, most of these athletes are my friends and acquaintances, and I've known them for years and years, and
Yeah.
or the new athletes know that I have this relationship with everybody because I've been working with everybody for so long that the only time like can't get an interview is when literally the timing and logistics don't work out, which does happen. I mean, sometimes there's after a race that I just can't meet up with somebody, or yeah, it's 9 o'clock at the prize giving at night, and they're flying out at 6 in the morning, and it's
Right.
just not going to happen. So, but yeah,
What's been like this is probably hard. You might not be able to actually determine this, but maybe your favorite interview or an interview that kind of caught you off guard and you were really excited about it, or favorite
ooh,
bonus question or something like that.
I don't know. In terms of that caught me off guard, Eliza LaPierre at Run Rabbit Run turned the interview 180 degrees and basically
Yeah.
just started asking me, interviewing me basically. That was a fun one. Yeah, and I mean, just probably my favorite ones are the ones that are. It's not asking them their training secrets. It's not asking them how the race goes. Basically when it turns into bullshitting and just
Yeah.
you get to really see they let their guard down and they're laughing and you get to see the human side of the athletes. I don't like to make our interviews a joke or anything like that, but just when it's cordial and really friendly, like, those are the highlights
Yeah,
for sure.
you can when you watch your interviews, those are some of the ones that stand out for me too, is when you already know everybody, but it's when you're doing an interview with somebody and you can tell that I mean, a lot of ultra runners are fairly awkward in front of the camera because they are so used to being out on the trails for so long alone.
Hmm.
I love the interviews where you kind of get through that wall and it's just you and the athlete just kind of bantering. Michael Aish comes to mind. Like every time you interview him,
Okay,
It's
Yeah.
hilarious. It's so funny.
I am looking forward to catching up with Ice out
You're
in
gonna actually see
California.
him this weekend, so it's gonna be great. If you do an interview with him, I have to
Sorry,
be
Ice,
there.
I don't have any ginger nuts for you this time.
I have to be able to watch. Like when you do that interview with him, I have to be able to like stand 20 feet away and just watch it live because that'd be hilarious.
And you
In
can
the
try to
chat
heckle, but
room,
we'd be laughing just as much without it. Yeah.
I totally agree. So in the chat room, Raul Engel asks, Brian, what is the 5 or 10 year plan for iRunFar? Where do you see it going?
Um, I guess try to be more in the same. Just try to be a leading voice of the sport. Try to get as much information as we can out there. I mean, I guess to be just the standard. To be the equivalent of the New York Times or the Washington Post or Wall Street Journal. Just good, solid reporting all around. I mean, that's personally. Hopefully, that means I can be home a little bit more and
Oh yeah, I was going to ask that.
running the show. I mean, I've fallen into being in front of the camera by accident. Hopefully, I can be more in a managerial role in a couple years. Still hitting some of the major races, but getting more and more people involved. I guess that's the side of the 5 year plan is. It's exciting and difficult to let go of the reins more and more as the years go by. It's exciting to be able to create more content and share more information with the world, but at the same time, it's not like I started a business with iRunFar. I started a personal running blog like hundreds of thousands of other people, and it just has evolved and grown naturally from me, I guess, and now it's more than me, and that's been a transition, and it will continue to be one as time goes on. Like I did all the writing for years essentially, and now I
Mhm.
do oh so little of the writing, and
I
there'll
mean,
probably be other
as someone
transitions like that.
for sure, and as someone who's read your blogs for years, I absolutely appreciate that you have put so much work into this. So you're saying it kind of started as more, I mean, as a passion project essentially, where you are just a fan of the sport and originally started it just as one of those kind of
Well, it
situations.
started as me just writing about my runs and random. Yeah, it was like it wasn't even about sharing information in a news sourcey kind of way. I was probably around for over a year before that happened, before I made the conscious decision to make it an information source for the broader community.
That's awesome. And have you just felt there's kind of this parallel going on too, because as your site and your business now is growing, do you think it's following suit from the sport? I mean, obviously, ultra running in general is growing. We talked to Dean Karnassus last week about it, and he doesn't necessarily see that the sport is blowing up, but he definitely sees it as expanding at a gradual rate. Do you see it as blowing up, or do you see it really getting big? And do you think iRunFar will have to follow the growth, the quick growth that's going on with the sport?
I mean, I think I run far. I think the sport has grown. I don't know if an explosion is quite it, but I mean, whether it's doubled over the 5 years, I'd say that's safe. Just as I don't know what, over many metrics, it's doubled or more over the last 5 years, and I think iRunFar has outpaced that growth, if anything. I mean, it started out as me writing whenever I felt like it, and then 3 days a week, and then 5 days a week, and I'm sure we'll have 25 pieces of content this week.
It's incredible.
So it's not even pushing to have more content. Like I often go to races and hold myself back. Like at a smaller, slightly less competitive event than Western States, I'm not going to interview 5 men and 5 women before the race. It's just that can be overkill. So trying to still not get carried away and producing content for content's sake and growing for growth's sake. I mean, yeah, I don't think we need to inundate the world with more and more, whatever it is.
We can always use more interviews with Brian and Michael Aish, or Chris Vargo for that matter. Someone in the chat room actually has said, my favorite interview moment from Brian was when Brian told Vargo to flip his shades up. And I actually remember this moment because I'm friends with Chris, and that was hilarious when Chris was wearing shades in the interview, and you're like, dude, come on, take the shades off. It was
Yeah,
hilarious.
and it's funny because I normally tell people beforehand. I mean, it's just better to have an interview without,
Yeah,
sometimes there's sun and you need a
yeah,
hat or something, but it's just more expressive. So, and
totally.
I missed that. Off with the glasses, Fargo.
Let's see. We got some tweets using hashtag GingerRunnerLive. I want to know what Ethan is drinking. Let's hope Bryon isn't drinking on the road. Oh, we already. He's got coffee. I didn't actually say what I was drinking. I'm drinking Caldera IPA. Caldera is an Ashland, Oregon brewery, and this is delicious. I know it comes in cans, so people are like, "Oh, it's a canned beer," but this is fantastic. Bryon, what will you be drinking this weekend? I have a feeling you'll have something on tap for when
I
the
don't know
race
about
is
this
over.
weekend, but tonight I am looking for Mammoth Brewing 395 IPA. It is one of my favorite beers. It tastes like the Sierra Nevada. It tastes like the mountains where I live. It's just juniper and sage and yeah.
Are you driving through
Yeah.
Mammoth on the way up there?
Not through Mammoth, but you can get it in Reno for sure. I know where to get it.
Okay, good. That's a very good choice in beer. Excellent choice. Also, over on the Twitter, what have you noticed to be the biggest evolution of Western states as the years have gone by, and the popularity has risen? Good, bad, the biggest evolution. What do you think, Bryon?
Biggest evolution. Um, I mean, it's just gotten way more competitive. I
Mm,
don't know if this year is quite as competitive as it's been every year the past, you know, maybe not as competitive as one of the last 2 years, but it's still ridiculously competitive and ridiculously deep. And to look at what you could run for fifth place, I don't have the each year's list, but maybe 7 years ago to now, the change is just incredible. There's just so much more depth of talent to what was 20th place is now 40th place probably. I'm just ballparking here, but there's definitely been a shift up front in the race. And I don't think part of that's the Montreal Ultra Cup this year. Partly it's the Ultra
yeah.
Trail World Tour and Craig Thornley and the board allowing more, a few more international. Maybe I'm wrong in this, but it seemed like a few more international elites through the international exception or whatever they have for the race. So yeah, I think that's a big evolution. I mean, there's more and more people who want to get in. That'll ebb and flow through the years, I think. But I don't necessarily think it's for the bad. I mean, I don't even think there's need to be any restriction on that. I mean, you have a lottery system. You get in or you don't. Savor it when you can, and when you're not, there's a ton of other great races out there. And you can also be at Western States volunteering, crewing, just cheering. Why not just go have fun? So people get really jealous of or get upset about not being able to run Western States. Well, there's a whole lot of people in that boat, but you can still share in the experience and still run other great 100-milers.
Totally agree. And one of the many reasons why I'm making the trek up this year for the first time. Any tips for the newbie? I'll be the new kid on the block. Just I'll be on Sally McRae's crew, helping her out. So I actually have stuff to do. But is there any tips for the newbie, for the new kid on the block, to see or to do at Western States that they can't miss, or to watch out for?
Buy your ice early. If it's a hot year, it's happened before
Mm-hmm.
where the ice,
Mm-hmm.
if you're on the crew, stop at the first rest stop, or not rest stop, a gas station or whatever you can.
And
You
get
should be
it.
able to get it over, but don't run out of ice.
Do you think it's going to be a hot year this year? I've heard that it's going to be moderate. Like, it's not going to be terribly hot. What do you think?
No, it's going to be, I mean, that's the most recent forecast is, like low to mid 90s. That's an average year. I mean, I don't know the exact average, but about average. So it'll be hot, but not ridiculously so. And it's not going to be a cold year. So there's not going to be a course record probably. And
Right.
there's also not, at this level of heat, there's not going to be the ridiculous attrition of the really hot years like last year where people ran themselves in the top or fell out of the top, or I guess held on their way to
There
the
you
top
go.
10 as opposed to running their way. And just like, Carl said he blew up and he still held onto the top 10. Other people just didn't blow up and somehow got up there. So it's not going to be a year where that's going to happen. There's going to have to be racing up front. You're going to have a lot more people up in that lead pack, and a lot more people are going to stick it in a more I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but a lot more people are going to have closer to their ideal race, I think.
Yeah. So this is a perfect dovetail segue into actually talking about this year's field. As you mentioned, last year's field and some previous years, there've just been, you look at the list of who's running female and male and just go, oh my God, this year it's completely stacked with number ones, global number ones. I'm looking at the fields this year, and I'm thinking it could be more competitive this year than years previous, because I mean, like, just trying to pick the names of the top 10 guys. If you go to iRunFar.com right now and you go look at the preview for female and male runners, the list is it's huge. Any one of those names on that list could be a potential winner, if not top 10. And the same goes with the females. Like all of the top females that are listed on the site, any one of them could win on Saturday. Any one of them could place top 5 on Saturday. Like, the fields are going to be really competitive. I'm actually really excited to kind of see how it plays out.
Yeah.
So, Bryon, we'll start with the ladies. Returning champion Pam Smith. Do you think that she will just take it all? That she'll just go out? She's also renowned for having like perfect strategy come race day.
Yeah, she's not going to take it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's smart. She's smart and like collected, which is, I mean, two different things. She knows how to, but also how to run within herself, and I think that's very important. It's a little more risky this year with, or maybe a little less likely to win strategy this year with the conditions being nicer than last year, most likely. But it will definitely put her, I mean, if she runs a smart, controlled race, she will be top 3. I just see no reason for her to be out of that. There are probably more talented women, or there are more talented women in the race. I think she would agree with that. But I don't know that many of them can nail the race as well as she can.
Do you think it will come down to speed or attrition, or just, proper 100-mile strategy at this point? Because you look at like Casey, she's incredibly fast. She's kind of new to the game, but her speed is stellar. Do you think that speed could just absolutely blow it out this year, or do you think it's going to be one of those races of attrition?
I think it will be somewhere.
Or in the middle.
There's somewhere in the middle, but leaning toward speed taking it. I mean, you have enough people with just that sort of speed, even if it's not track speed, but the Casey, the Emily Harrison, the Stephanie Howe, even people with less experience. There's enough of them that not all of them have to stick it. One of them just has to. One has to almost, they can fall apart a little bit at mile 85, but it's a lot, still not that grueling relatively at the end, so maybe they can hang on. And then you have somebody like Nikki Kimball. She won it a couple times. She was second last year, if I remember correctly, and she's just, we talk about Pam running so controlled and so smart and so well, but Nikki's been doing that for years.
Exactly.
So it's just that Pam, she had some really good results, but not on the same level of stage. So last year it seemed like she just ran the perfect race. So it stood out so much more than Nikki doing it all the time.
Right.
So those are the two women who can just run smart all day long and win it that way. They're not going to run away from the field. I think Casey is definitely exciting. Stephanie is just such a smart racer in terms of managing her load at times. Like, she doesn't go into a race unprepared. She does prepare really well for her races and takes them really seriously. 100-mile debut is makes it difficult to win, but I think Miss Greenwood did that a few years ago. So, and Rob Craw had a pretty good.
He had a pretty good showing last year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you can do really well as a rookie if you run within yourself and run a smart race. And I think there's just so much information, and so many good athletes have run at this point, and they talk and they share. So somebody like Rob Carr last year was down in Flagstaff, and there's lots of other people that he's talking with that can share what Western States is like, and I'm sure he did his homework, and that lets him run that kind of race. So,
do you think any of the ladies have Western States as their primary focus? Because I know a lot of these racers used a Montreal Cup qualifier to get in, so they've been racing already. Do you think any of them have just cleared the calendars, made Western States the primary focus, and do you think that could be to their benefit at all?
I think a lot of them have made it their focus, whether or not they had to get in by a Montreal Ultra Cup race.
Right.
Some of the women who got in that way are good enough where they had to show up at a race and race well, but that could have been a step along the way. Like a 50-miler, even as recent as Ice Age, if it's built into your schedule right, can be a positive step in going toward Western States. And I think most people do use a 50-miler or two along the way. So I would be shocked if there were many women in the field where it wasn't one or two focus races of the year.
Who do you think? Yeah. Who would you think would be top three? Who are your top three picks, if you want to pick a couple?
Oh man, I'm just like skimming through the list myself. There's so many.
I just need to know so I can write it down in my submission for the contest.
I mean, when I'm making my prediction contest picks, I tend to be conservative because for our contest, you can lose a couple, but it pays on a hot day to pick the proven commodity. So Pam Smith and Nikki Kimball, they did it last year, and there's no reason they can't do it again. Thinking about it now, I mean, if I had to pick one wild card or newbie, whatever you want to call it, not really wild cards, they're all good, to be in that top three for the women, it'll be Stephanie Howe. I haven't talked to her in a while, but she's just so fast and controlled as well. She's really impressed me with the way she races. So, I don't know. I'd count her up there. The men, obviously Rob. And I think until he actually falters this season, I got to keep putting money on Ryan Sands.
Ryan Sands, yeah.
He's just been incredibly fit this year, incredibly strong. I keep thinking that there's an increasing chance that he's going to enter one of these races and the tank's going to be empty, but until that happens, keep going with the big name running well. And then after that, Miguel Harris is, I would pick him to be in the top three, but he's also hurt very often. I haven't really seen much. He won the Spanish ultra running championships like a month ago. Yep. So he was healthy and could finish a race then. I think it was about 115K, if I remember correctly. Peñagolosa. And if he can make it to the finish line, if he can make it to the start line and then make it to the finish line, he will be top three. I can't see him finishing out the top three if he finishes. And then there's just so many of these just new to the sport, whether there's their first race or they're 2 years in, from the Mike Eishes to the Vargos to the Laneys, that are just blazing fast. But unproven.
They're coming from that road running world too. They're coming from that super fast road running world, and they're translating it to trails, and they're not really losing any of the speed. So you're just seeing these times drop in all of these in these races, setting new course records, setting just new expectations.
At 50 miles and shorter, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Over at 100 miles and above, you really haven't seen that as much yet. But this whole new wave has come in and recently enough where I don't think you would expect that yet. So, there's probably been people like this for years at Western States, decades, I would say. There's probably people from in the 1980s who were fast road runners from California or around the world who were, I'm going to jump into Western States and show these ultra runners how to really run. I could take 3 hours on that course record. They're walking. Yeah. And now that I'm not trying to paint the current crop as arrogant, but I'm just saying there's been people doing this for years, and it doesn't always pan out. But there's so many of them that somebody's got to make it work.
I was just writing out the names of the males now that we're kind of moving into the male category, And as I'm writing out the names, I'm going, oh yeah, he could win it. And then write the next name. Well, yeah, I mean he could win it too. And then you write the next name. Well, I guess he could win it, depending on whatever the day or the weather. I mean, the list is so extensive for the male field as far as who I think could possibly win it on that day, given certain circumstances, that the top 10 for me is it's a juggle. You could really just throw a dart at this list of names and go, yeah, he's first place or he's fourth place, or it could be anybody's game. A lot of guys from California too. A lot of Southern California, Northern California guys that are just rocket fast that could easily pull it out on race day.
I mean, I think Nick Clark and Dylan Bowman are both,
I've seen Debo run, and he's so fast. Dylan is so fast.
And I think he's got a potential there that I just don't think has come out on the biggest stage yet. I think he's just almost able to nail it. And Nick Clark, I mean, he's a Masters runner now, but he, until last year, was the only guy to go under 16 hours twice at Western States.
That's true, yep.
He's saying he ran a little less this lead up and all that, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And I think internationally, if Yoshikazu Hara can be a 6:30 200K runner or something like that, and have won Fuji, and if you've seen video of Ultra Trail Mount Fuji, or if you've talked to anybody who's gone over there, it is insane in places. So he's run super fast road times, but the technical steep shit there is insane at a Fuji. So
I've talked to Gary Robbins. Gary Robbins is a friend of mine, and that guy lives on technical trails, and he even came back from Mount Fuji just talking about how incredibly difficult some of the sections were.
The section I ran before the race this year, granted it was the hardest part of the course, but it was probably the hardest 12 miles I've ever run. It was just, and then Jez. I'm so glad to see Jez ready to go.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't remember the last time he's raced. When was the last time he raced?
He was in top 10 at UTMB last year, but that was after running the Tararua. His 2,000-mile New Zealand trip at the beginning of the year. So it was awesome that he was able to bounce back and even go top 10 at UTMB last year. I think he's on top of his game. That's what rumors going around are.
I mean, that's just it.
Are you a question?
Like that. Yeah. So we had questions in the chat. I want to make sure that we get to it. But yeah, you never know on race day who's got that fuel in the tank, who's topped off. Maybe some people have a little bit less than others. We'll see. I guess the race is always said to not really begin until mile 62. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. In the chat room, Sniff asks, Bryon, are you going to run any races in the near future? And that's actually a great question because you document all these races. Are you signed up for anything? I mean, I know you just did basically a couch to 50-mile a couple of months back and did incredibly well. Do you have anything else on your calendar?
I signed up for Laurel Highlands Ultra actually last weekend in Pennsylvania. I signed up for the 70. It just was not going to happen in any respectable manner. So my sister was running her first ultra that day, so I waited up for her and ran the last 12 miles of her first 50K with her, which was the best decision I could have made this year. I am actually signed up for the. Yeah, it was awesome, and she'd unofficially run one, and yeah, it was also our longest run we'd ever done together. So that was
dude, that's great.
Blast.
Nice choice.
And I'm running a Moab Alpine to Slick Rock 50-miler the weekend after Western States. We just moved out of our house, but the start of it's a mile from where we were living, and I've only run a couple miles of the trail, so I'm super psyched to run all this stuff up in the Sierra de la Salle above Moab, and yeah. I'm not going to be racing, and I'm just going out there for 50 miles, checking out the trails.
Just for fun, yeah. I mean, do you have a base right now? I mean, do you have a base of mileage? Are you still able to get in your runs and any sort of training, or is it just it's just travel and hoping to make it to the finish?
I did some junk miles as a second run yesterday, so I could have 3 straight 40-mile weeks, and that was the first time I've done 3 40-mile weeks in a row since May of last year. So there's no base. There's nothing.
Do you miss it?
And
do you miss that aspect?
I do. And I could see working back in. If I get the right race to get me psyched up 6 months out, or 8 months out probably, I could totally find enough time to train some, but I didn't have anything on my calendar this year that really stuff that I'm excited to run, but stuff that I just didn't feel like training super hard for. So
Yeah.
just concentrating on the work and doing that. But that's like when I mentioned the 5-year plan earlier. I mean, part of hopefully the team is the iRunFar team is large enough and established enough in a couple years where I can spend a little more time at home, in part so I can enjoy the running myself. Because I go to these places for a week, and people think, oh, he's in Chamonix or he's in New Zealand, but I'm running from the hotel for half an hour at most of the time. I mean, like, plenty of times I've gone to cover UTMB, go for a week, and get a 30-minute and a 45-minute run in like the Chamonix Valley, which is great views, but it's not like I'm having the epic run up the side of Mont Blanc.
Right.
And I love running at home. I'm the guy, I don't even go drive to where I run. I just put on a pair of shoes. I can do the same loop every day for the next 20 years and love it.
I mean, you're still in Utah, right? Are you still in Utah?
Well, we're currently home free.
Nice.
So I
nice.
get based in Utah.
I love it. You got to get one of the tiny houses or something that you can just drive up to the bottom of a mountain and just go running or something.
Who needs that when I have Hotel Prius?
It's Hotel Prius and Office Prius.
It's also Air Prius when I'm moving, so it covers many uses. 150,000 miles, 10 years. Oh, good car.
Still going. Damn, it's still going. Still going well. Raul asks, Bryon, what is the most unusual aid station food that you've seen on your travels?
I'm sure it was something in Japan.
There's got to be weird shit, right?
Oh, man, I forget the name of it. Is it nata? The fermented bean paste?
What?
Like, it's sticky and smelly and possibly one of the most... It's like if you gave snot the smell of Limburger cheese and then ate it, that would be nata.
Oh, my God. That sounds absolutely terrifying, especially to eat during an ultra. No, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
Did you have some?
Yeah.
Did you eat any?
No, I was covering the race line and I decided not to have it. There was plenty of good food too. They had plenty of miso and noodles and rice balls and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, European races I haven't seen anything too crazy. I mean, it's just different going to say run a UTMB and have just slices of baguette and dark chocolate and dried meats and hard cheeses. It's different, but it's not. If you're running 100 miles, it's going to take 28 hours or 40 hours. Like, that food's good.
Just eat anything, calories. Sean asks, is there a general consensus opinion within the community on the use of pacers? Is it looked upon negatively?
I don't think it's looked upon negatively. There's a small group of people who poo-poo on it. There's some people who don't like to have pacers themselves that then say, oh, pacers are cheating, or not that they're cheating, but like poo-poo on pacers. Whatever. Each their own. If there are a couple races that either don't allow pacers or have separate pacerless categories, if that floats your boat, go do them. Or just go do your own adventure. I mean, people have pacers for all sorts of reasons. So I don't think that there's a majority opinion that pacers are bad. There's definitely a small vocal minority that doesn't like them. But,
yeah, I
don't see it.
I think yes. I think it's a small number of people that would poo-poo it. I mean, most of the racers that I know, when they get the opportunity for a pacer, they look at it as not necessarily I need you to get me to the finish line, but more like I get to share 50 miles with my friend. I might as well take advantage of it, especially on a bigger course like Western, especially. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Just ask that question. Little trailer is running better. Well, since we have you, Bryon, I have one last little segment that I like to do with all of my guests, where I ask them a bunch of questions, rapid fire. But before we get to that, I can't ignore the fact. Well, yeah. Here, you can have some of my second one. It's absolutely delicious. I cannot ignore the fact that we are two amazing gingers. Incredible athletes, both of us, you and I. So what I've done, yeah, I mean, I think it's just naturally in our blood to just be incredible. Yeah. We're gifted. We're even
incredibly attractive, very smart. Yeah.
Bryon said it here first, folks. So Bryon, I actually have gone into your history, photo-wise, and pulled up some photos because I usually rock the beard and like the shorter hair. Sometimes I rock no beard. Sometimes it's a mustache, and I've noticed that you also do the same thing. So I'm going to show you some photos of yourself, and for
Time
people who are
travel,
watching,
sweet.
we're going to time travel. Help us maybe name these hairstyles. I'm sure that you have some names for them, but explain these photos as we see them. Okay, so here's the first one. This is I'm assuming we're gonna kind of go from like most hair to least amount of hair. So this is the
I
first.
thought we were going to start with me in 1984. There's a picture of
I don't have photos that far back. I didn't call your parents or anything like that. All right, so here's the first one. This is you rocking facial hair and long hair. How long did you did you rock this look?
That look was around for a good, probably a year. I like that one. That's a comfortable Bryon right there.
Yeah, do you miss the long hair?
On occasion, but for all the traveling, the short hair is much more convenient.
So whatever happened between this photo and then this photo involved cutting off the hair from the top of your head. So you no longer have the ponytail, but you have this wonderful. What do you call the mustache? What is that? Chops?
That's the blazing saddle.
That's awesome.
Especially when I did the wax out to the side.
I was gonna say I saw that one too, where you curled out the mustache. It's fantastic.
Saddle and stirrups, yeah.
Saddle and stirrups. What prompted you to shave off the saddle?
It was enough time. It was it was an accident that had happened in the first place, and after a couple months, it had run its course. I had planned to shave it off before coverage began in February, but like the live race coverage. But I kept it around a little bit. People enjoyed it. This was right before I came home for Western. Nice.
Pretty close.
So I cut that off before I came home for. I was away for 7 weeks internationally, and I came back and shaved it off before I saw Megan again. So a little surprised. She was not a fan of the blazing saddle.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few women that dig a good fun facial hair. My fiance Kim hated the mustache, hated it. I loved it. I thought it looked terrible, and I loved it. So then you went through this phase, which is, I think you're kind of rocking it now, where you kind of have the buzz look, but you have a little bit more goatee now. Was there a reason that you shaved off the facial hair?
Partly to shock Megan. I was gonna get rid of the blazing saddle, and I could have just grown out the goatee and not, but I just wanted to mess with her a little bit. She was gonna be happy that I got rid of it. She doesn't mind the goatee so much, but
yeah,
I've had a goatee or a half goatee for most of the last 10 years probably.
And then the final picture, I think I just need some explanation. It's probably one of my favorite photos that you have, and it's your current Facebook profile pic. It's badass. What is it? Where is this? How does this work? You have a beer in your Ultimate Direction pack.
Yeah, a little cranky anchor.
Yeah.
That was Bryon Powell, Dinosaur Hunter. I think Megan was away on she was trying to get her leg fixed up, trying to see if she could still run Marathon des Sables, and I was home for a couple weeks and just was having a bad day, and I'm like, screw it. I'm going to go out and hunt for dinosaur bones. And this is when we were living, had a house renting a house outside of Moab, and my uncle had sent me that Shea hat out of the blue. I have no idea why. So I'm like, I'm going to wear the Shea hat once and send my uncle a picture, and I'm like, I feel like carrying a camera, and I feel like having a beer. So I'm going to holster my beer and holster my camera in the other pocket, and went out and went dinosaur hunting.
I honestly think this should be it should be your look for every race that you go to. People would take you so seriously. You would be the biggest badass. You would have access to every aid station, everything like that. It's a good look.
If I hadn't shaved it before I came home, I was going to keep it for Japan because I thought that would have gone over well over there. And it was like I've never paid to like dress up in like costumes to get the photos, but I totally would have got the Shogun uniform or like robe with a
the big helmet. I took a beer when you said that, and I just about lost it. because now I was totally picturing you as the dinosaur hunter in Japan. But people, I'm assuming people there would want to take photos with you. They would be like, oh my God, Bryon Powell is wearing the best outfit. I gotta take a photo with Bryon.
Well, who wouldn't want to take a photo with me anyway? But yeah, even more so.
Okay, but before we let you go, to get back on the road, thanks for being a good sport with the photos. I love it. Every time you post a new photo with new hairstyles or new beards or something like that, the internet goes crazy. So I had to call it out because it's fucking hilarious. So before we go, I have a little segment here called Quickie Question Quiz, where I get to ask you rapid fire questions and you just answer them as quickly as possible. So here it is, Quickie Question Quiz.
Okay.
It's very straightforward. It's a short list, and here we go. Your first question: what was your very first race?
100 meters, Bear Tavern Elementary School, Olympics, 1984.
Did you win? Did you get the gold medal?
I believe I did.
Attaboy. Best trail that you've ever run?
Best trail I've ever run. Changes on my mood, but I'm going to say Blind Man's Trail, Washington Crossing Historic Park, Mercer County, New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
It's my home. It's where I started running.
Oh, that's awesome. It's very, people will have to go find that. What's your favorite running movie?
Don't have one.
That's a good answer, because in my mind I'm thinking he's going to say Unbreakable or he's going to say Chariots of Fire, but no, there's too many. Scariest moment on a trail?
Didn't involve me. I was in the Teton Mountains, east side. Did a big 20-mile loop with a friend. We were just finishing up, maybe 5 miles to go. He caught a toe, fell against a granite rock, sliced open his quad. He went unresponsive on me briefly. And he was fine. I took off my sleeveless shirt and tied on a non-sterile bandage, and we got a cell phone from somebody else, and he went out on a horse named Newt.
Oh my God!
He got like 100 and some odd stitches.
Whew, that's crazy.
But you don't want to be out in the middle of the backcountry where somebody goes unresponsive on you. That's
yeah, no, not at all. Just you saying that. Just
I roll back. Yeah.
Oh boy. Dream race to run. What would be your dream race?
There's 100K in Mongolia. I would love to go run that.
That'd be amazing. So you'd be at altitude. Is it a mountainous one?
I don't think so. I just want to go to Mongolia.
That'd be amazing. Live in a yurt.
Yeah.
Who's your idol?
From my foot.
There you go. Who's your idol?
Period or ultra running?
Either one. Either one.
Ultra running, I'm going to go with Scott E. Mills. He was my ultra running mentor and great guy, and he's been a mentor to many.
Yeah, good choice. He's a great guy. Favorite post-race indulgence?
Ooh, I'm going to go with a Reese's malt at Milt Stop and Eat, excuse me, in Moab, Utah. 32 ounces. Like malted chocolate milkshake with peanut butter. Boom.
That sounds awesome. I want one right now. What are you currently running in?
Yeah. Most often the New Balance 1400s and Solomon Fell Razors.
Have you seen the new Fell Razor? Oh, no, I'm thinking of the Fell Cross. You're running the Fell Razors.
The Fell Cross, yeah. Yeah, a little more to them.
Yeah. And finally, who is your favorite ginger other than yourself?
Well, crap. I'm going to have to go with you right now.
Yes, he nailed it. He absolutely answered correctly. Bryon Powell said it. But I know that there's, I imagine in your life you might have many. Do you come from a family of gingers?
I do have to say my favorite ginger is my sister, Gretchen Renee. Heather Weems Powell, Courtney Powell Kish. She is finished the first ultra last weekend, and aside from Megan, my best friend, and yeah, real good person. I always joke that in high school we would have never met except for being brother and sister, but we've been great friends for a really long time. But for my family, no, my parents are not redhead, my grandparents are not redheads. It's either the Rusty Pipes or the Postman. We're not sure which.
Actually, that's exactly like my family. My sister is the only redhead. Myself and her through most, if not all, of the extended family. It's just her and I. Everyone else
Yeah.
either has black hair or blonde hair. It's kind of nuts.
I try to claim that I'm adopted at times when I was growing up, but that never really flew.
Well, man, I know that you're coming to us from your car. You're literally in the middle of a road trip, so I'll let you get back to driving, which I'm sure you're looking absolutely forward to. But before we go,
before beer at the end.
there you go. See, you have something to look forward to. Before I let you go, where can people find you? I mean, obviously iRunFar.com, but social network plug, go for it. Where would you like people to go find you, subscribe, or ask you more questions after the show's over?
I mean, the iRunFar is the best place to ask those or go to and ask those questions. The website itself, but we're also on Twitter and Facebook. iRunFar at iRunFar Twitter and iRunFar.com on Facebook. And for a little more personal, a little more snarky, sarcastic side, I go by Lantorno Orange on Twitter. Keep iRunFar professional and gotta have some fun too.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad that you actually have a personal account as well. So for those of you who are watching live, I very much thank you for tuning in to Ginger Runner live episode number 20. We were joined by Mr. Bryon Powell of @iRunFar or iRunFar.com. We are both going to be at Western. Bryon is going to be documenting the entire race. He's like the legend behind doing that. He posts photos. He documents most of the leaders. In this case, I'm assuming you're going to be documenting both female and male, but how far deep? Are you going to try to kind of keep with the top 10?
Yep. I mean, we'll have a team there, so we'll be able to stick with the top 10 for most of the day, the way that,
awesome.
that course works out.
Cool. So make sure that you go follow all of these guys on Twitter, on Facebook, all of the social media sites, just because this weekend is going to be legendary. Western States 100 2014 edition is this weekend. Some of the best runners in the ultramarathon world will be there running, competing. It's just, even as a fan of the sport, it's just fantastic to watch and keep track of, especially from your home, no matter where you are across the globe. So if you're watching live, go shout them out. Let them know, hey, Bryon, thanks for coming on Ginger Runner Live. Bryon, I would love to have you back. I know that we're kind of focused on Western States for this episode, but I'd love to have you back to talk about you or more races or anything you got going on to promote in the future. So if you come back.
Anytime you want, you're blast. Hope to do it again soon.
For sure. And the fact that you're able to do it from your car is pretty outstanding. I think this is the first Ginger Runner Live.
I can't stress how odd a place this is. I'm in like a 160-person town. There is no open Wi-Fi in town. I tried to go to a hotel or a motel in town.
Yeah.
They refused to have me pay to use their internet to do this.
Oh my
God! I'm working off like one bar on a booster in a parking lot that I had to find to get the signal. It's just like, but this is what I do. So
right. This is part of the biz.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. I have to tell you this. What is that? What is that?
Little fat lard.
Yes.
Little Napoleon Dynamite.
I love it. And I have to give you props, too, because we had Jason Schlarb on the show a couple of weeks ago to promote Around Patagonia, and he was doing his live broadcast from outside of a public library. So he had like a guy sit down with a guitar next to it. Like, it was the most surreal thing because he's living out of his truck currently. So the only Wi-Fi he has is from public places. So you're one-upping him by doing it from your car. You're proving that it can be done. So thank you, man. I appreciate you taking the time out. It's just been awesome.
My pleasure.
Cool. So, Bryon, I'll see you this weekend in Squaw. Can't wait. And for everyone who's watching live, watch both of us because we're going to be there in Squaw and Auburn and documenting the entire race. I'll be there crewing Sally McRae, running on the female side, but I'll be high-fiving everybody that comes through that I can physically see because that race is epic and people's performance out there is just legendary. So thanks again for Bryon Powell for joining us. If you guys would like to stick around for the post-show, I'll be answering questions as well, so go ahead and stick around for that. Otherwise, you can find me on all the social networks, over on Twitter @TheGingerRunner, on Facebook, facebook.com/TheGingerRunner. This YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe because we go live every single Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with a guest or with myself or with friends. We always are talking about running, all things distance, whether great or shorter. So stick around, guys, for the post show. We'll see you guys next week. Otherwise, here we go. Bye-bye. Awesome. Well, Bryon, we still have you. You're welcome to stick around. Usually for the post show, I just like to stick around and kind of chat for 20 minutes or so. If you want, you can stick around. Or I know you're literally in the middle of a road trip, so if you need to keep driving, go for it. Oh, he's gone. All right. All right, he's gone. You guys who are watching live, thank you. Make sure that you give Bryon a shout out on the social medias, just because he is a very busy dude, especially right now. It's the week of Western States, and he's got a lot on his plate, especially kind of tracking the athletes leading up to the race, figuring out the placements of who he thinks in predictions, and doing the interviews and getting everything set up. Obviously, he's doing Wi-Fi from his car, so it's pretty cool. What do you guys think of the show? Did you guys have fun? I have to refresh the chat room because it wasn't updating, which is typical. It has been doing that for every time. Let's see. Bryon reading through Relentless Forward Progress as I train for my first 50K. Great book resource for anyone looking for training tips. Yeah, Relentless Forward Progress is very good. Ethan, thoughts on the Hoka Huaka, says Matthew Kennedy. If you saw my photo from this weekend, I have been running in the Huaka now. I actually got it last week. I got the shoe last week for the first time, so I did most of my mileage in it this weekend. I ran 2 long runs in it, put about 40-plus miles in the shoe already, and I really like it. I think it's probably one of the better Hokas to be released. It's not necessarily a trail shoe, but it is a great trail shoe. Like I believe that they're releasing it as a road shoe, which I find interesting because it has some chevron lugs on the bottom, but I think it makes a great trail shoe, at least for the trails that I'm running in Southern California and stuff like that. I will tell you now, guys, I'm super stoked for Western. Western is happening this weekend, so as I mentioned, I'll be crewing Sally McRae. She has been hard-ass training. That makes no sense. She's been training her ass off for Western. Really, really excited to kind of see what happens, how it unfolds. There are going to be some epic performances out there this weekend. The weather, I think, is supposed to hold pretty good. It's not going to be obscenely hot. It will be hot, but it's not going to be obscenely hot. I believe it will dip into some low temps during the night or in later in the day. So it could be anybody's race. I really believe that it could be anybody's race on Saturday, male and female. So I'm very, very excited. Have any of you guys run Western or been to Western? Let's see. Ethan, how are you healing up? Saw your post about your fall, says Raul. Good. Like this arm, if this is any indication, this is the best part of my body. My whole right shoulder, like down the shoulders, just one giant gash. My knee is kind of sliced up. My hip, I didn't realize it until I took my clothes off when I got home yesterday. My hip is totally thrashed. I actually might want to go grab my singlet I was wearing yesterday, just because it will tell a better story than I could possibly tell. Ethan, how is your boo-boo? Your hand looks a little jacked. Oh yeah, the hand is jacked. This actually, looking at it now, is far better than I imagined it would look. I mean, it fucking hurts, but that's to be expected. Let me go grab my singlet real quick, guys. Hang tight. This is going to tell a better story than I could. Okay. Oh yeah, tell us about the fall. All right. Oh my God. I'm gonna just show you. So these are my shoulders, but then this is the aftermath. I mean, you can essentially see blood down in there, and it goes all the way around the back. It's just bad, guys. It was bad. It was so there's this one, I was running in the Santa Monica Mountains, which are just, oh my God, these headphones totally suck right now. But I believe this, yeah, that's the mic that you're going to hear me out of. So I'm running in the Santa Monica Mountains, which is a mountain range that's fairly close to where I live. So it's just easy to access, and there's like 100 miles of trails out there. You can really connect a whole bunch of really great single track mixed with fire road and all sorts of good stuff. So there's this one stretch of single track. It's called the Josefo's Drop. It comes off of a trail called the Backbone and drops right down into a canyon called Rustic. Sorry, it's in the wrong canyon. Called Rustic Canyon. And I'm not going to say it's super technical, especially coming off of a week in North Vancouver where that is technical. Uh, but it's Southern California technical, which means that there's loose rocks, there's loose dirt. It can be slippery, but it's really steep. There's like gullies where your feet will get lodged in them. It's technical for all purposes of the word. It's like a maybe 3/4 of a mile long trail. Drops straight down. I think it descends like 400 feet or something like that. But then right towards the bottom of it, there's a real short section, maybe 50 feet, 60 feet, where it's just kind of levels off a little bit. It's not very technical. So I'm coming down the technical stuff, and I kind of get to that section. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to run this out. So I kind of run it out. You know, you come off of a steep incline and you start running towards the flat section. You just let your body go fast. I lost focus for a second. My foot caught a root. There's nothing else on the trail except one little fucking root. Caught my toe, Supermaned out, and then slid a good, 8 to 10 feet. This arm, surprisingly okay on my forearm, but on the side, basically I landed on my right side and slid with this arm tucked underneath the water bottle that was in my vest because I couldn't move. I didn't know. It's like your brain just shuts off during the fall. You don't even know it. You just are on the ground before you can even think. So I was on the ground when my brain actually went, "You fell." But then I was sliding, so I felt the entire slide, and that's what was most surreal about it. It was just like, oh, I can't stop. Oh God. You just know it's grinding off your skin. I stood up, and I have never seen more dirt on my body because I was so sweaty and so nasty at that point. It was like 12 miles into a 25-mile run. So I was just covered in dirt and mud, and the blood mixed with the mud, and it was like already scabbing over within like a minute. It was pretty nasty. I had my camera. I was documenting the weekend. I didn't film the fall. I would have blamed the camera filming on that. I just honestly lost focus, but I did film the aftermath, so you guys will have to see that episode. Again, I have to refresh this freaking chat. I hate it. I'm so sorry, guys. Let's see. Oh, yeah, tell us about the fall. Go, Sally, go, says Rail. I agree. I'm putting her on my top 8. Gotta rep Callie. I think Sally's going to blow some people's minds. I honestly think she's very well prepped for the race, and she wants it. She really wants it. Brian, to help cover the sport with top-tier journalism, do you think it's important for more trail running journalists to come out of the woodwork? Says Rob Ricardo. Curious what you mean, Rob. What do you mean important for more trail running journalists to come out of the woodwork? It's not like they just, there's not like a bunch of people who are hiding, who are writing articles and stuff about ultra running or trail running and just not promoting it. I mean, there's a lot of people that are doing it. Brian just happens to be kind of the premier guy. He has his whole team, and they do an incredible job documenting races from around the globe. Like UTMF is a good example. I was following UTMF, which is the ultra trail Mount Fuji. Like as I mentioned, Gary Robbins was running the race, and I really wanted to follow him and see his progress because he's an incredible technical trail runner. That race has some crazy sections. And iRunFar was pretty much the only outlet that was able to cover that globally. I mean, there were some live video streaming sections that were put on by the actual race itself, but it was all in Japanese, so it was tough to follow. Let's see if you guys have any questions on hashtag. There we go. On hashtag Ginger Runner Live. Brian at iRunFar just joined the Ginger Runner on Ginger Runner Live from his car. Nice. He's also the go-to source for ultra running and Western States Endurance Run 100 this weekend. Couldn't agree more. He is indeed. I mean, it's going to be funny because I'm going to be at Western States, and every time I see Brian, I'm going to probably ask him, so what's going on? What's happening? Who's in front? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Because he's going to know. He's going to have his finger on the pulse of that race at the race. So I'm really, really excited about that. Have you guys ever fallen during a trail run? I honestly can't even put my palm on my laptop because it hurts, and resting on my left elbow fucking hurts, and I can't bend my knee because it bends the scab. It hurts. I'm not gonna complain. It's part of the process. Being a trail runner involves falling and hurting yourself. It's just part of the gig. I am just extremely thankful that I didn't fall earlier on some of the technical trails, because if you fall there, it's like standing on a hill that's this steep, you fall and you almost go double the distance, right, or double your height because you're going downhill. Broken wrists, broken hands, broken bones. I'm just very, very thankful. Heckle, heckle. Says Bryon Powell. I love it. Brian, if you're still in your car and you're not driving, you're welcome to jump back in here. I know that you still have the link in case there are more questions that pop in here. Yeah, Raul, it totally sucked. But then you hear stories like Brian's story about his buddy who went non-responsive in the backcountry. It's like, oh, that's fucking really terrible. I'm very, very thankful that my fall was purely cosmetic. Because there are some instances out there where it is not so much, and it gets pretty damn scary. I had a buddy, Dave Daly, who hasn't been on the show yet, but I hope to get him on the show. I didn't see it, I didn't witness it, but I heard that he fell and broke both arms during his fall. Both arms. I can't imagine trying to run to safety with 2 broken arms. Like, that kind of shit scares me, but you know, falling is part of the trail running game. You just you can't lose focus. Especially when it's easy to lose focus. All right, refreshing the chat because obviously it just loves updating. Oh, I can't rejoin. The link is closed for me. Oh, let me try again, Brian. I'm going to send you another one. Let's see if this works. Stand by. I'll email it to you too. Okay, so yeah, if you guys still have questions for Brian, keep asking him. He's going to see if he can jump back in here, see if we can get him back online. Must have just dropped him for some reason, which is not great, but we'll get him back on here. Let's see. Okay, good. We got more questions. I fell a couple of times on the road. Man, that hurts too. Yeah, actually, Louis Dore Savard. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. The first time I fell was it was before I ran trails. I was running the road, and there was this one stretch of dirt where it connected one sidewalk to the next sidewalk. Brian, I just sent you an email and one of the notification invites as well. So hopefully one of those works. If not, send me another email. Let me know. But yeah, the first time I ran, it was literally sidewalk and then 5 feet of dirt, and then the sidewalk picks back up. In that 5 feet of dirt, I don't know what I tripped on. There was nothing there. I went flat down. My water bottle exploded, water all over me, which then collected the dirt, which made me look like a homeless person rolling in the dirt. And this was in front of fucking dozens of cars and traffic. This was in LA. It was just embarrassing. I was fine. I think I scraped my hand a little bit, but I was totally fine. If you go way back on my Instagram feed, there are photos of that. But I have fallen many times since then. There was even a time when I was running on the sidewalk in Anaheim, and someone had left a metal ring, a giant ring like this, just made of metal. And I stepped on one end of it, and it popped up the other end, and my other foot went into it, and like a bear trap or an animal trap, I just fell right onto my face, again, in front of traffic. Totally wrecked my knees. Terrible. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Oh, there he is. Yeah, Brian saying, if it hurts, you're not drinking enough beer. I'm working on it. It feels a lot better now. Thank you. I have to say, this is pretty damn good. Almost took a couple digger ripping down San Gorgonio yesterday. Thankfully, my cat-like reflexes kept me upright. Let's see. Yeah, Gorgonio is no joke. Gorgonio is one of those. It's a very high mountain down here in Southern California. If it is the same San Gorgonio that we are talking about here, it gets up to altitude. I believe it gets up to 12,600 feet or something like that. Pretty technical in spots for sure. Big rocky outcroppings, and if you take one misstep, there's cliffs and very steep hills as well as tons of rocks. And yeah, so good on you for catching yourself with your cat-like reflexes. Did you finish the run or call it quits before the? No, I got to 25. I actually got to 24.7 or 6. just because my mileage didn't work out how I thought it would, my trails that I was running. And I hate when you get to the parking lot and go, I need to add like zero point 0.3 more miles, and then you would just end up like running around the parking lot. Yesterday, rather than doing that, I said, you know what? I'm cool. I'm going to go home and take care of my wounds. I'm not going to try to add it like that. All right, so Brian's not jumping in, which means he either is back on the road driving or he's not getting these notices, which is not good. I wonder if it's my system. I fell on my hip a couple of times, ripped a hole in my shorts. Yeah, falling on your hip sucks because then you end up kind of bruising that area, and it can influence your gait, your running gait, which totally sucks. Is this your worst fall? Says Matthew Kennedy. Yeah. Yeah, I've banged up my knees pretty good, where I've had two bloody knees and then the blood dripped down. This particular one was nasty in the sense that not only was I just covered in dirt, and I had very limited water, so I couldn't clean off my body. So the blood just basically had to mix with the dirt and turn into blood mud. Yeah, but I mean, I wasn't like hobbling. I've had falls where I've had to like hobble for a good mile before my body was like, okay, you can run. I didn't really hobble. I knew that it was a hard fall. I slid, I scraped up a lot of shit. It was going to hurt today. Like I knew it was going to hurt within 24 hours. I knew that I could get home. I knew that I could finish my run. But oh my God, you should have seen the faces on some of the mountain bikers and trail runners that were running by me that day, yesterday. They had no idea what the hell they were looking at. They're like, yeah, I was covered in dirt. You saw my jersey. It's fucking nasty. So what would you think if you're riding a mountain bike and you just see someone covered in dirt? Looks like they have just been living in a pig pen. I can't even imagine. But no one asked if I was okay. That's the downside. No one even cared. I felt pretty good. Like you, caught my foot on a root, bombing down a hill. Kind of shocking to do that as an adult. Luckily, I did a kind of shoulder roll and just had some scuffed up knees and hands. Yeah, Russell, that's kind of how all falls have been for me. Is like, you feel like a fucking idiot where you just kind of trip and you grind for a little bit. And maybe you hurt. Maybe you get a little hand scuff or maybe some knee scuffs. That's how it's normally been for me. And the only time it's really injured me is when I've been on the road and I fell. This is the first time where I've been on the trail and every limb hurts. It'll go away. It's temporary. Louis Dor Savard, and I once had to carry my wife on my back for a 2-mile descent. She caught a toe and tore her ankle? Like tore it open, like blood, or tore it like a ligament, or broke it. That's terrible. Mike Bell. Ethan, my first trail race I fell. 0.1 miles into my first downhill. Got up, kept running, then fell again, quarter mile later. Scrapped up both sides of my body, but still finished strong. Dude, Mike, same with me. My second 50K run, I was doing pretty good, and at mile 5, fell flat on my face, just fell flat on my face. Then, literally a quarter mile later, fell flat on my face again. The first time I was kind of able to catch myself, but the second time I fucking bit it. Totally had the exact same experience. Dan Winters, Ethan, do you still have a full-time job, or are you in the process of making the Ginger Runner your full-time thing? I'm not sure what your background is, but I can tell you're well-versed in multimedia. Dan, I actually haven't had a full-time job for 6 years now. I have been a full-time actor and full-time YouTuber over the last 4 years, 5 years. Sorry, what was the math I just did? I did, 4.5 years. I've been a full-time actor and YouTuber. And right now, it's absolutely, I mean, if I could make a living doing Ginger Runner stuff, I absolutely would. I will continue to do it as I have been doing it, which is providing everyone free everything. But it would be great if it could be a job. That would be a dream. Totally be a dream. But that is like an ultimate goal, just because the regular day life is no longer what I would, that's not a great way to phrase it. If I could spend my time running and providing information and doing reviews and making films, and that is my full-time job, that is what I want to do. So I need to do anything I can to make that my full-time job, which is what my goal is now. I have gotten over the idea of losing a full-time job or a full-time day job years ago. The day that I left full-time employment to pursue other avenues was one of the hardest decisions I ever made, but also the best decision, because everything falls into place as long as you dream it and manifest it. I don't know why I said manifest. I don't believe in that secret thing. You make it happen. So as an actor and as a YouTuber, it's been great. It's been really, really fun, and I get to live my life how I want to live it. I don't have a boss telling me how to live or what hours I need to put into an office job or what reports I need to submit in. Like all that kind of stuff. I did that for years, and it was not my cup of tea. David Hayes, first time pacing Western, yes. Does Sally plan out which section she wants each of you to pace her on? David, I don't want to talk too much about her strategy because it's kind of her thing, but I'm not pacing her. Based off of the course that Western, I think the way that the course is divided, you almost need 2 teams if you're going to have pacers. You're going to need 2 teams because it's split by the river, by the American River. So you basically need one team to drive one section of the race and another team to drive the other section of the race. She has 2 pacers. I'm not one of them. I'm basically kind of her main crew person who's going to just be at every aid station that I could possibly be at and just make sure that she gets everything she needs. Yeah, I might bring a camera just to kind of document the behind-the-scenes kind of thing, like a little vloggy camera, because I think it would be just kind of fun to document that side of things rather than trying to make like a Western States film or anything like that. I think this is going to be more interesting, at least for me, to kind of document what goes on behind the scenes, especially for a runner of her caliber. So that'll be fun. I think it'll be fun. Let me refresh. Okay, so Bryon, I don't know what's going on, man. Bryon, if you're still here, I've been trying to invite you. Sent you the email link again. Don't know if that's working. Maybe not. Heading back out on the road. Thanks for having me. Okay, yeah, cool. Bryon, dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate you dropping by. Drive safe, and we'll see you in Squaw, which is, as they say, rage against the system. Oh, man. Okay, tons of updates. Let's see. Yeah, that was a gnarly story, says Raul. As a product and gear junkie myself, I am loving all of your shows and reviews. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Andrew. I will be honest, and the reason I do this, or the reason I started Ginger Runner, was because no one else was doing it. I was such a fan of Bryon Powell, iRunFar, and that like the whole idea that he was documenting all these races, and he was my only source of information. Like his website was the only person out there that was doing any sort of like, here's how to train for a 50K, or here's some advice from the pros who run 50Ks every Saturday. Like, no one was putting that sort of information out on a regular basis. And when I started looking for reviews, he was one of the only people that had any sort of reviews on shoes. Same with Run Blogger, who's amazing. Pete Larson is like the most knowledgeable person on shoes, I'm sure, on the internet. But no one was really like making videos about shoes. I would read these reviews and go, okay, that makes sense, but no one was doing like any sort of video stuff. And I come from a video background. That's basically what I was making my living doing at the time, and kind of came up with the idea like, well, why don't I do it? I'm no expert, as in I'm not a professional runner. I don't get paid by companies, but I'm also a fucking like mid-pack runner. Like, I am what, if I was looking on the internet, I would rather hear from me than an elite person, because an elite runner, they're going to be biased. Either they're paid by the company that the shoes that they're promoting, or they're talking about a shoe in terms that are far beyond what I would even be capable of running a shoe in. You know, like if they're talking about, oh, you can run 4.5-minute splits in this shoe. It's like, no, I couldn't. There's no way. There's no fucking way I'd be able to run a 4.5-minute split. So I wanted to put something out there that was accessible to everyone, because in my mind, the elite running field is small compared to the huge amount of people who are running purely out of passion, to get fit, because they enjoy it, or to pursue endurance endeavors and to continually get better. They were doing this. A majority of the runners, in my opinion, are doing the same thing that I'm doing. Just kind of an everyday runner who's trying to get better at what they're doing and have fun in the process. So I wanted to create content that would be engaging for what I would want to see. And it's been working out great. It took a long time to kind of catch on. I mean, some of the early people who were watching my videos were like, oh my god, this is great, this is awesome. But as time has gone on, I've been doing it for almost 4 years now, 3 or 4 years. It's just been getting great. It's been getting a lot better. Really great feedback from fans who watch the videos, and my favorite comment that I get is someone who goes, "I tried this shoe, and everything you said about it is exactly on point." It's like, oh, good. So my feet aren't crazy. We all kind of have some of the similar backgrounds. Brian says, technical difficulty, says you're not allowed to join this video call. I would need to send a fresh invite. That's weird. I don't like that. Sorry, Brian. I'm assuming you're on the road now, but fuck, man, that sucks. I'm sorry. I've had that happen with other guests who have jumped out and then tried to jump back in. It's the same sort of thing. Google Hangouts can suck. 11,503 feet, San Gorgonio. I thought it was 12,000. What is 12,000? No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. 11,500. Raoul Engel, I think I've almost been hit more times by cars than falling. I'm vocal about it. Oh, I hate it. Oh, cars that don't look. Oh, for sure. In LA, you'll be running across a sidewalk and the car will. Doesn't matter which direction they're turning. They will never look in the direction you're running towards them. They'll just pull out. It happens all the time here. Every week I basically get hit by a car. It's fucking terrible. David Hayes, Epic Falls. Ricky Gates dislocating his shoulder and then relocating it on Mount Marathon in Alaska last year. He still came close to winning. I remember. You can actually watch that video online, I believe. I don't know if you see his actual dislocation, but that race is nuts. It is nuts seeing those guys run down that technical descent down Mount Marathon. Search for it on YouTube. Mount Marathon, Ricky Gates, I think, and there's like a video where him and another guy duke it out in this race. You run up a mountain and then you scream back down. It's incredible to think that that race actually exists and more people don't die. Oh my God, Luisa says the ligament. Snap the ligament. Oh. Matthew Kennedy, wow, that sucks. I'm sorry for your wife. I hope she's okay now. Me too, Louise. Louise. Ooh. Ethan, are Game Force videos coming back? Maybe Game Force mixed with Ginger Runner? I don't know how that would work, but Matt, it's funny that you should mention that. For those of you who don't know, I did sketch comedy videos on my main YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/thesampler. I haven't posted one there for a very long time, mainly because I've been focused so much on doing Ginger Runner videos, doing 2 videos this plus a video a week. Takes up a lot of time because you're doing a lot of editing, editing weeks in advance for videos that are coming out soon. But the goal would be to potentially, that's disgusting, potentially do more sketch-oriented videos specifically for the running audience. This is the first time I've actually talked about it in public. I have a number of ideas of sketches sketch comedy videos that would deal primarily with the running world, because as someone who runs, there are so many things that make me laugh and that I think are absurd, and I've thought of sketches around them that I'm like, oh my God, if I think this is funny and I think this is absurd, I'm sure there's someone else out there that would agree, and so I'd love to start making more sketches like that, and that's actually something that I'm working on. I can't wait to drop the first one. Ethan, could you make a movie about the preparation for an ultra, nutrition-wise and mentally? I'm very unsure what is needed on an ultra run. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what I've been creating, like the Gorge 50K, 100K, and the Gorge behind the scenes is kind of my first one where I really get into like the behind the scenes. I kind of talk about what I'm doing and what I'm putting into my race system. It's going to be a completely individual thing. There's also Ginger Runner Live episodes where I bring on experts like Alicia Shea, Sally McRae, and we talk about what it takes to train for ultras and what it takes to prepare as far as nutrition and all that stuff. So Ginger Runner Live episodes are going to be the more educational tool, at least in my Ginger Runner library. I want this to be kind of you go here to learn, have fun, but also learn a bit about the sport, not just ultra running, also marathon running and short distance running, and soon triathlon. I'm going to bring on some triathlon guests because I think that's also really fun. So yeah, that'll be this is going to be more educational side, but maybe for Squamish 50/50 because I'm doing the the episodes, right? So the episodes of training for the Squamish 50/50. I believe an episode of that is going to be preparation as far as nutrition, gear, all that kind of stuff. I think because that's an important part of the process that I always wanted to know more about. That was always like I'm such a gear snob, not snob, but like addict. I always wanted to know what some of the elites are wearing. What's the shoe that they're wearing? What socks? What sort of shorts and top? Big fan of that kind of stuff. So maybe I'll do the episode of that for the Squamish 50/50 webisode. It was a long time ago, Matthew, but she still has a fragile ankle. She wouldn't consider hiking trails again without big mountain boots. Really? That's crazy. That sounds terrible. Was she a trail runner before, or was that the first time that she was running trails, or was she just hiking and twisted it? What happened? Running comedy would be awesome. Yeah, totally agree. Big kudos on the videos. It does make a big difference as far as accessibility that you are closer to the level I run at than a professional. That's why I do it. To be totally honest, because there's a disconnect. I will continue to look up to some of these athletes. Like Sage Kennedy is a great example. He came on the show, really fun, down to earth guy. He's a kid. He's still really young. But some of these guys that we look up to all the time, Meb Keflezighi, like all these elite marathoners and ultra marathoners, there's this disconnect where they start talking about, oh, I ran the half marathon in 1:10 or 1:08 or whatever. You're like, that's an hour faster. I've run I think my best half marathon is like 1:44 or something like that. But there's this disconnect where you're like, I will never run that fast. Even if I took 10 years to train to run that fast, it would take 10 years. It would take up until the last day for me to be able to do that. So there's this disconnect where it's like, I listen to you and I trust you and I think you're an amazing athlete, but we're in two different worlds. So the whole goal was to create something where, hey, everyone can relate to this. We're all equal in this whole thing. I don't care if you weigh 300, 400 pounds and you're running your first 5K or even your first mile. I don't care. It's about kind of creating this community where everyone can come together and just talk about why we're a fan of it or why it's changed our lives or why this is inspiring or this or that. So that's kind of the goal of it. And the question I get most often, especially in regards to review videos, has always been, well, there's two things. One, review this shoe. So like they'll go to, like, I'll post a video review of a shoe and the first comment will be, you should go review this shoe. It's like, why are you telling me to go review this shoe? Is it because you own it and you like it? And you don't need a review about it. Or it's like, that's not what this review is about. This review is about this shoe. Maybe I'll get to that other shoe, but hold your horses. One thing at a time. And the other question is, what shoes do you recommend that I run in? And I did a whole Ginger Runner Live episode on that. I can't tell you what shoes you should run in. I can provide you information based off of my experience in a particular shoe, but I cannot tell you what shoe you need to run in because I don't know what your feet look like are. I don't know what your running gait is. I don't know what sort of trails or terrain you run on. Like these are all factors that contribute to someone's running gait, running style, comfort level. Like, do you want cushioning? Do you not want cushioning? Do you want zero drop? Do you want more? My best advice to anyone who's asking for running shoe advice: go to a running store and try on everything. They are paid employees at that store. Their job is to get you shoes from the back and try to put you in a shoe that works for you. Take advantage of the fact that that is what they're paid to do. So try on everything. I mean, that's kind of what you have to do to figure out what you like. Otherwise, you're going to spend, $100 to $150 pairs on $100 to $150 on pairs of shoes that you're just going to run in and go, I don't really like these, and have a hard time taking it back. So the best bet is to try everything on in the store, find out what you like best there, take them home, run in them, see if you like them, and then go from there. It's like honestly the best bet. I keep having to refresh this chat. The YouTube chat just blows, guys. It just doesn't stay super current. So it updates like every 3 to 5 minutes. Chris Wicker, you are truly such an inspiring guy. Thank you so much for what you do. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. It's incredible to hear people say that I'm inspiring, because it's always like reading the stories from you guys that inspire me the most. I haven't done a Runspiration segment on Ginger Runner Live in a while, so I'll have to do that next week. But reading some of the stories that you guys send me as far as your backgrounds, your training, history, weight loss, like all this stuff, that's what's really inspiring. It's pretty incredible. Calling it a night over here, says Russell. Thanks again, Ethan. You bet, man. Thanks for tuning in again each week. It's fantastic. David Hayes, interesting too, thinking of Sage, that it seems most professional ultra runners are also trying to put a life together with sponsorship, coaching, etc., to support their lives running. Yeah, it's true. I'll never have the ability to be a sponsored athlete. I mean, I'm not trying to be pessimistic or anything. I just am like, the competition to be an elite runner is so fierce that I have no aspirations to be the fastest guy out there. I would love to win a race sometime. That would be amazing, but that's not my ultimate goal. So I have to find means to make a living elsewhere. I'm not going to be able to be a sponsored athlete, and I have to remain objective across the board. So I have to make sure that, I can't be like a Saucony athlete. I can't be sponsored by Saucony because I have to make sure that I review Sauconys equally, and I have to make sure that I review all these shoes equally. I feel like this show could have sponsors. Like I feel like Ginger Runner Live could be brought to you by blank, because I don't think that's going to influence anything. I'm still going to do my reviews honestly. That's 100% just how it's going to be. But yeah, it is interesting to see these other athletes, and Sage was a great example, and he was pretty open about his pursuit of like getting sponsorships and keeping sponsorships, and the struggle and the constant fear of having to do that. It's a really interesting topic, maybe to talk about in a future episode with some sponsored athletes and stuff like that. I'm also going to call it quits here, guys. I'm already like losing my voice. I think it's because I've been drinking too many of these, maybe. So I would like to thank all of you guys for tuning in and sticking around for the post show too. There's a good number of you who are still here watching live, so I very much appreciate that. And do me a favor, send Bryon a tweet thanking him. You can either use @iRunFar or @LanternOrange, because that's his personal Twitter. Just let him know thanks. It was great to have him on. I know that he's in the middle of traveling, and that could be pretty cumbersome to like be traveling and also have to worry about jumping into a live show and doing that kind of thing. And he's got so much knowledge when it comes to ultra running, just knowing all the top elite athletes and being at all the locations and seeing performances from everybody of all levels. It's pretty cool. And if you ever at a race that Bryon is at, say hi to him and thank him for what he does, because he deserves it. He puts a lot of time and effort into this. Excuse me. Oh, I can't wait to edit the footage from Squamish and from Vancouver. I'm going to put out a new Squamish training episode here, whether it's going to be this week or next week. I think it'll be this week. I got a huge new group of running shoes I need to punch through for review, so I'll probably most likely review my next shoe in not this week, but the week after, so we'll see. Okay, I'll just catch up on these last few comments here. Lol to the woodwork joke, Ethan. I suppose it was a bit of a biased question. I launched my trail running site today. I finally found my way out of the wood. Oh, I see what you're saying. I love what you're doing with Ginger Runner Live. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it, man. Sniff, Ginger, I'm a gear whore and have been known to get restless when looking for an upcoming shoe review. Thanks for being patient. I'm a gear whore. I've been known to get restless when looking. Oh, I mean, I would honestly, I would love to do more reviews per week, but I only have 2 pairs of feet, and I can only run in a pair of shoes, or I have to put a certain number of miles in a pair of shoes before I can really form an opinion on them. Because I've had shoes that I've run 5-10 miles in and go, I don't like them, and then 20 to 30 miles later I go, you know what, these are actually great. That happens frequently because you need to break the shoes in, so I need to put the mileage in them and rotate through a lot of shoes at a regular basis. So by posting 1 video a week, it's about as quickly as I can crank them out. I would love to bring in another runner. I have toyed with the idea. My fear was that it would either dilute my opinions on shoes. Like if someone else reviewed a pair of shoes, what if I disagreed with that particular opinion? Then how does it influence the Ginger Runner ideal of reviewing. I don't know. I've toyed with the idea. I've thought about it just because there are so many shoes out there that are currently rotating through. And there's a lot of people that want me to review a lot of these higher heel stack height shoes and stuff like that, and I just don't want to. So it's tough. It's a tough game. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and adapting and trying to create new content, new things. It's all about creating some new stuff. You should try to get Sunny Blend on and talk nutrition. Maybe. I'm not familiar with Sunny Blend. That could be my fault. I need to be up to date. Running sketch comedy, big fan. Thanks for all the reviews and race videos. You got it, Johnny. Of course, absolutely. Time for a GoPro sponsorship, Ethan. Oh man, trust me, Jeff. I've reached out multiple times, and what's funny is I get emails back every time I contact them from a different person in their department, whether it's marketing or sponsorship or whatever. Every time they're like, nah, they don't get it. They don't get what I do. They want parachuters, rally car drivers, snowboarders, skiers. Like, they want that extreme sports thing. They don't consider ultra running extreme sports, which blows my mind. And I don't think they find the videos engaging enough. You know, they want a lion. They want to capture a lion attacking a human. That's engaging for them. It's crazy. I've tried. Failed every single time. South Florida community, thanks. Giving information on trail running and ultras. Watch show every Monday. Thanks, Thomas. Love it, man. Thank you very much. All right, so that's it for today's episode. I am a little bit behind getting these episodes posted for podcast in the podcast form. In the next couple days, I will be getting those up. So for those of you who are like 2 episodes behind, I believe 2 or 3 episodes podcast are a little bit behind. We'll get those up, and by we I mean me. There's no one else. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next Monday. I will not be at Western next Monday. I will be home, but it'll be probably some recap from Western. I'll also have some video from the actual race, so you won't want to miss that. I'll see if I can do a little preview edit or something like that to show you guys. It'll be fun. I think that's it. I only have 1 pair of feet. How'd you get 2? I only have 1 pair, so it's 2. I don't get it. I don't get it, David. Raul Engel. She's an ultra runner. Oh, cool. Love it. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys. Train hard, race harder, party hardest. Train, race, beer. Okay. Goodbye.